that, but yeah, but you notice so Josh Moon he brought up Boss Man Jack. I had been I had educated you on Boss Man Jack in the weeks beforehand. Yes. Yeah. So you were hip to it. And well, I don't know. You could, you know, obviously, so Kiwi Farms, they have a big forum there on political grifters and stuff, and you can just, you know, like I get a lot out of it. You could just, if you ever want to make content online or whatever, like you should look at the horror stories on Kiwi Farms to like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that. Like I don't know if we ever used it a lot, but like just a small thing, like go watch like one of these one of these people that ends up on like the threads that have 4,000 posts. Ones that guys who just suck at streaming and stuff. Go into those. No, first thing, you won't want to use a soundboard anymore. When we first started, I was like, oh, a soundboard. Hey, the button makes a noise. It's funny. No, you have to be very, very sparingly with that. Yeah, I saw one guy replied in the thing. He was like, who's this guy? He said, give me one sentence why I should listen to this. I was like, well, Josh is the Julian Assange of our time. Because he actually is. He knows his shit. And I was bringing this up because I was listening to something the other day. I was listening to one of these documentaries or whatever. And documentary was talking about bad people, and it was talking about furries, bad furries. One of these, some guy, it's not important, but you see a lot of this, people with like extreme sexual fetish, especially ones that Chicken Soup says for souls you plan on guys doing super chats. Hell yeah. I don't know, people like, I don't even know if it's so much that it's the fetish, but like if you're going out and you're going to these conventions and these groups and these parties, and you're like actually like doing like extreme sexual things with like a bunch of people that you don't know. I don't know, man. Crime stuff happens. But anyways,
this is funny, and I'm curious if you remember this because you were involved in this conversation. Like furries are kind of I don't know. You always have that moment where you kind of diverge away from the normie politics, or you kind of have the they live moment where you put on the glasses. And for me, it was when the transsexual stuff just kicked off and they were talking about people changing their sex with hormones and stuff. And Drag Queen Story Hour was popping off in the news. And I said, rather naively, like, I mean, drag, what are these people and these guys dressing like women and dressing up like, with clown makeup and stuff, like, how is this any different than the people who dress up in the fursuits, right? The guy dresses up like a dog. It's the same thing. They're doing the same thing. And the answer I got was, how dare you? That is a deeply ingrained part of LGBT culture. The drag, I mean. And you can no way compare it to the guys in the dog suits. But that's not true. They are the same thing. And if those the furry guys had become known to the internet like 15 years later than they did, or 10 years, they'd be like a protected class. They just they got in way too early, so like it was just something that everybody made fun of. But like if that became something known about today, they would be somebody you would get banned from social media for making fun of. I guarantee it. Yeah, Same principle.
I mean, there is an asterisk to it, and they use it like, look, it's bullshit, and obviously it's easily solved, whatever. But they were doing a technicality with this drag queen thing, because like, okay, when they say, oh, this is this long honored tradition, okay, like what you got, like, okay, there's like a huge difference between like Brianna Wu, transgender, and like if you're talking about the tradition of LGBT, like you're talking about like this, like in the 1970s, like that isn't like, oh, a drag queen's like a guy who walks downtown dressed like a woman to have sex with men. It was like they had that too, but drag queen was like a
minstrel show where gay guys make fun of women.
It was a certain body, like stand-up comedy routine set, which immediately you're like, okay, why would you have kids around this? You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Are they gonna like tell jokes about like Diana Ross or something? Like what? That clearly has nothing to do with like there's just a stupid hack or whatever. Like that makes no sense at all. That's incredibly retarded. But anyways, I not only think that, but anyways, when I was watching the documentary, and just like as a side note, it came up the Josh Moon. He came up. I was like, well, I just talked to that guy the other day. Josh Moon is apparently the devil to the furries.
Because their website makes fun of them.
I'm sure because there's stuff that you can find evidence of crimes on there that they haven't been able to take down. You know, one of the forums there is like, it's just all the whatever the legal notices that he gets from, like, a lot of these deviants are rich and they have lawyers and stuff, and they send him all this shit. And, well, that's what he's good at. He's like at dodging these or whatever, because otherwise they would just get rid of this stuff. It's not as big of a problem. If you're in America and right now you're like, oh, free speech, who cares? We can say whatever the hell we want. We can say retard. This is now there are places in America where it's not so much like that. And especially in Commonwealth countries, wherever they can just delete a story, they can just get rid of a story. And they can just say, well, this would be harmful to minorities if this story hits the public, so we won't do that. Now, we already do shit like that here. So, like, there's
we're gonna talk about that in the main story. Yeah,
that's a big story here. Like, there's already states where they're not publishing mug shots. They squash stories, and they have some kind of legal means. I'm sure it's a legal gray area, whatever. Like if we spent, if infinite money went versus infinite money in the Supreme Court, like free speech would probably win, but there's all kinds of little gray areas. It's just not a gray area. It's like Josh Moon said in England, when you get arrested, they say your silence will be used against you. Like that's how they arrest you.
As I recall, when they were having I don't know if it was the Rotherham case or one of the, like that, whichever grooming gang case in the UK, someone got arrested for like revealing the identity of one of the people who was on trial for raping children. Like,
surely you mean a victim?
No, it was one. They revealed one of the people who was on trial. And like stuff like that. Yeah, in America,
Fredo, we don't do that here in America, do we?
No, we don't. But that's common in a lot of places. In to steel man that like practice, which I'm not saying I agree with. There in a lot of European countries, if you're just accused and you haven't been convicted, that information stays private. And the idea behind it is like, well, you haven't been found guilty yet and you might have been falsely accused. You follow what I'm saying?
Right. So here's the important distinction. Like this, the government saying we're not going to release the name of this person. That's, I get that. That would go with what you just said. But the government actively arresting you for telling other people who the person was, that's, it seems very strange to us as Americans, because people like to make fun of the Constitution and Bill of Rights, but everything goes by the speed limit principle. It does make a difference. People in the United States do have an expectation that you can say what you want. Obviously, that's not always reality, and there are a million ways around it. And generally, what you're allowed to say does change throughout the eras. For example, like you can't be thrown in jail for saying slurs in general, but you can be deplatformed, you can be fired from your job. So effectively, those things are blasphemy, and you're not allowed to say them in public. And like in the past, that was true of actual blasphemy. If you weren't allowed to say I think at one point on network TV, you weren't allowed to say God in any context that could be taken as blasphemous. Like, it's like God, whatever. You couldn't say that. It would be bleeped. They would bleep Jesus when it wasn't used like directly referring to our Lord and Savior. That's obviously way out the window because we're not in that era anymore, and there's new blasphemy laws. But it is important distinction. You can't really get thrown in jail for saying things most of the time. And I know there's going to be people saying, "Oh, actually, you can." Blah blah. Yeah, but it's not the same thing as how it works in the UK, where if you make not even a spicy Facebook post, you just post something that they don't like, there will be a cop knocking on your door next week. And sometimes they'll straight up tell you, well, the thing you said wasn't illegal, but we don't like it, so we're going to talk to you about that. I've seen people recording the bobbies saying that to them. Well, now what you said wasn't technically illegal, but we're here to scold you anyway. That's insane.
So we had a couple. Unfortunately, it is fortunate. Unfortunately, it's fake news that anyone ever got fired for this. But there were a couple cases where people resigned and then they later got their jobs back for using the word niggardly. That means stingy, which was very funny. But they're actually now the only places that people have been fired for words that sound like N-words. Now this has happened a lot, but it only happens with university professors, and you always got to take that with a grain of salt because I don't know what it's like. Being a university professor is like being like the head cheerleader. Like you can like people will like there's lots and lots of people that want to get your job. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But however, so we had a professor was fired for using a Chinese word that sounded like the N-word. A law professor was terminated after quoting the N-word from a Supreme Court case document. He was reading out loud. They fired his ass because he's a racist. But however, like that's all professors, and like I just consider that like that's just like warfare with them. They just do that shit.
Yeah, there's somebody who's sharpening the knife because they want that tenure position.
Yeah, it's like understudies in a like Broadway show or something like that.
Yeah, I just always think of Vince McMahon's son asked his dad. Asked Vince. He's like, "When are you going to make me the CEO, Dad? You're getting really old. I've put in this work. He got thrown. You guys remember what happened? Like he got thrown off the third balcony or whatever. He let Rock throw him off this huge fall.
His son or him.
His son, Shane McMahon.
Yeah, right.
He was doing all these big stunts and stuff. And he was like, he was like, when are you gonna let me over? He's like, you're gonna have to do what I did. He's like, you're gonna have to take it from me. He's like, you're gonna have to steal it from me. You need to just rob me of it. He said, that's what I did to my dad. And if you can't do that, you don't deserve it. He's basically like, you need to kill me.
Yeah,
that's the law of the jungle.
But that's so. I mean, and obviously you can see how that worked out for him.
Well, like he's a nut. I mean, he's
exactly
on chicks and stuff.
I just want to, as an aside, to say that attitude. It's this weird kind of grit. Like I'm throwing when the second that my kid turns 18, I'm kicking his ass out the door. Stuff like that. That's some kind of weird mental fetish for people. That's bizarre behavior. Don't be that way. That's crazy.
Vince is a carny on steroids, and I mean, like he's a nut. Yeah.
I mean, the most like a tiny shrew in the woods hiding under leaves like has more regard for its offspring than some of these people. It's very bizarre to me. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. However, that's what Clyburn gave this answer, right? There was this like black guy in his 30s or whatever. He wanted to run, and he did these posts. He's like, when Clyburn's like 92, when's he gonna step down? And Clyburn's like, nobody stepped down for me, son. He's like, you want my job? You got to come get it from me.
That wasn't literally his son, though, right?
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, okay. Let's where was I going that? Josh Moon, yeah. And he's like the devil to the furries. That story is only gonna get bigger. Today, iDubbbz declared war on anyone involved with his quote unquote lolcow content. You know why? Because he's a lolcow now. So
yeah, I had I only really know who he is because he feuded with because Sam Hyde did that documentary, he did a documentary on Sam Hyde, and Sam Hyde just
destroyed him.
Actually, like the libs love to throw around the word gaslit, but like he literally gaslit him for several days by setting up like a fake office and inventing storylines, and then I guess in the big interview sit down where like iDubbbz is gonna put the screws to him, and it's like say here's all the bad things that happen in your life. Sam Hyde just casually goes, "Yeah, it was all fake. I paid this woman $500 to act like my drug addicted girl for it." That's the only thing I know about iDubbbz. He used to be somebody big on YouTube, right, in the past.
Well, so I mean, if you're right wing at all and you're a guy, I mean, like, and you're familiar with it, so iDubbbz is like he is the best punching bag in the entire world. Not only literally. So, he's done these celebrity fights and like he's gotten his shit beat out of him every time. But yeah, so he made millions of dollars in like in a way that like now like he like says like is evil. No one can do that anymore. He made all his money bullying people and shouting the N-word. And
really?
Yeah, like he was he was like the most he was like people considered him like right wing, Sam Hyde kind of guy. He falls in love with like this evil woman.
She's the OnlyFans lady, right?
Yeah, she's on the OnlyFans right now. And yeah, so anyways, he like because he's right in the middle between millennial and Gen Z. So if you're either one of us, you can hate on him. He's got qualities of both. And well, like, so now he's this big leftist guy or whatever, right. And it's just a total disaster. Like, some of these guys have flourished, I guess, but like him, like everything, like he's broke, he's living in a basement. They made millions of dollars.
Right. This is a very common internet story. YouTube was kind of I don't know if it was actually 2.0, but before that, in the late stages of the .com thing, people who owned like internet forums were getting offers for millions of dollars to purchase their forums, their websites, all that stuff, and a lot of these guys who took the payouts ended up broken with their lives worse than they started out. Like he was big in the Wild West days of YouTube when there was a lot of when they were throwing a lot of money around to very few people, because in the very beginning, like not everybody had professional or even decent amateur grade recording equipment, microphone, camera. So there were only a couple people, and if you were one of the big names, you could make bank, and there was not a lot of competition. So did they even have ad revenue back then, or was it like Twitter now where you get the payout every month based on just like their equivalent of impressions?
So they made tons of ad revenue. Ad revenue was through the roof. The only people that made it out, so every single person that did that, they made tons of money. The only people, and so all these people, they spent their money as fast as they got it, assuming they would earn the same amount of money forever. The only people that came out of this alive were PewDiePie and Chew on Head. And so both of them, I don't keep up with either of them, but I think both, both of them have enough money left around from that era, and both of them seem like they're not like, because here's the deal. In their era, you made money off clicks, right? And so, but you had to get a click on the video, but your video had to go 10 minutes to get an ad.
Right.
So all these people like Shoe One had PewDiePie, their all focus was 10 minute and 1 to 5 seconds with a hot take, like a premium hot take or whatever. That's what you wanted to put out there, and you could make a ton of money. There was this thing called the adpocalypse where all the ad revenues went down. Not like that is all irrelevant now. And so that's why all those people, I think PewDiePie and her, they don't need the money. So they just kind of, because what you had to do, if you wanted, like, so if you want to stay in the game, if you want to continue to make content online for money, you can't do that anymore. That doesn't pay anything. There's no money in 10-minute videos. Now the algorithm is very simple. It's watch time. You need, like, this is why they're like these guys, like, if you go on YouTube, the main popular thing, like the 9-hour review of Super Mario Brothers 2 or whatever, like that's like, or if you're a political guy, wherever, you have to stream all day and then you just upload your stream.
Yeah. And I noticed even on like car influencers, like if I just like, I'll watch a video that's really just like, like a quirk about like a specific car in a specific year and how to fix it, right? Like something that goes wrong a lot, but I've noticed that they'll drag the video out to like a half hour.
Yeah. They drag it out as hard as they can. And so the only, like, there are people that sort of stayed in and around who are like, I guess, I don't even remember. Destiny, I think, was a 10-minute video guy with a premium hot take. Can't do that anymore. You want to do this stuff, you got to sit on there for eight hours a day begging for subs and shit, or just racking up time so then you can upload it or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyways, to finish the story, now iDubbbz has been streaming every day this month. He streams to like less than 100 people. Like, we get as many people as he does.
You know, when we first started streaming, and we went from when we did like basically started doing a weekly news program. That's just kind of what this is. You gave me the best advice I've ever heard anybody given on the internet, and I want to share it with everybody. And it was, you told me, because I was about to argue with somebody who had this kind of drama around them, and you told me, you don't want to become a character in their like cinematic universe. You don't want to become somebody who is involved in their world, because once you're in there, you're in it forever. You don't get out. You're now a stock character in their weird little drama. And I think about that guy. I don't know anything about him, but you can just tell by the way people interact with him. And like every time he pops up on the timeline, he looks haggard and he's upset, he's crying or something like that. That's no way to live. If the next big thing that comes along that's like YouTube or whatever, if you get in on it early and you make a lot of money, like, actually just message Fredo and find out the best way to invest it so that doesn't happen to you, because it's the saddest thing in the world. Like, now he's going to argue with the people who post in a forum about him being a lol cow. I mean, is that a content grift by itself, that like he's just doing that because that's something to fill up 8 hours of stream time, or does it bother him? You know.
Well, him and Anissa are broke. I mean, she's back on the OnlyFans. He's trying to get, but he's awful at streaming. I mean, he's not a streamer. It's just dead air, and like he's like, I guess he's friends with Hassan, so he's trying to get on the political grift, but like he's never read a book. Well,
that doesn't matter for getting on the political grift.
Like he is the, like, any leftist person online or whatever you've heard is Albert Einstein compared to him. He might be brain damaged from the boxing too, by the way.
Go ahead, Fredo.
I was going to say, I got an admission to make, because it's gone on a long time and I've been too embarrassed to ask. So I'm just going to ask here. Can either one of you guys define for me what a lol cow is? I'm too old for this. This is after my time.
I'm not the best qualified person. I should have asked Josh Moon for his exact definition, but basically,
Well, he did give us he gave us a part of a definition, and here I'll explain it to Fredo because I think this works. He said that they're like a figure of ridicule, but most importantly, they're not just people who are bad at something or look stupid or whatever. It has to be a person who made an active choice to continue to F up in life. Like they have to intentionally make the bad decisions so you can, I guess, watch along and make fun of them for just constantly going back and digging the hole deeper, even when they had an opportunity to get out. Because like it's not funny if it's just a sad person and their life sucks and they don't really have any exits. The example that he used was the guy in Fluvanna, the boss man Jack, right?
Boss man.
Right, he's just a degenerate gambler, and they would literally send him thousands of dollars a day to gamble, and he blew every cent of it, and he's still broke as all get out, and that's why it's funny because at any moment he could have just stopped and had a normal life, but he chose not to. So that I think that's what it is. It's a figure of ridicule, but they deserve it.
Got it. And one of our listeners here, Weeaboo Judas, just said, then guess explain the name to me. It's because it's someone you metaphorically milk for laughs.
Yeah. And James Lindsay now he's a great locale. Basically one of the things, and when I was telling you about that, and I don't even remember that interaction where I was like, hey, like, look, you gotta, like, the main thing that you get out of like looking at this kind of content, if you're going to be a content creator or you want to have a big account or something online, is like,
don't do this.
The most important thing is like who you listen to and who you respond to. And what really makes locals is they respond to criticism, all criticism, whatever. If you want to create content online and you feel like you make a post and there's like 5 people in there that goes, this guy's an idiot, this guy's a scumbag, blah blah, and that bothers you, or you want to get into that with them, you're on the fast track to localism. This is why James Lindsay, like, if you say shit, he's gonna he's like he's got to pipe back. By the way, if he ignored all of us, all of these accounts or whatever he says are Nazis or whatever, and he just posted like his stuff, because by the way, like, none of us pay him. We aren't his audience. Like, he has an audience. Like, he had a much bigger audience. There were people that like, I'm all in on the James Lindsay train or whatever. The thing is, these people that you're fighting with or whatever, they're not your audience. They're just, a lot of times it's just young people or whatever, just like want to laugh. The main thing is they want to see if they can get a reaction out of you. That's like the number one thing. So go ahead.
At any level, when you put something on the internet, like I'm sure you have like twice as many followers as me, so you probably get twice as much of it. Like, I'll post something, and there will be a person who replies under it, something like that, and I just instantly mute them. I don't even block them, because like blocking somebody tells them that you paid attention to what they said. I just mute them, and that's it. You're into the ether forever, because there's no point in us having a conversation. There's no point in me responding to your thing or even like quoting it unless I can think of something really funny to say about it. And if you do that, it's like playing dead to the bear. There's no fun in it anymore for them. It's like, it's very rare that you have a crazy person who will just continue to send you messages and stuff when you don't respond to them, because it's the response that causes the entertainment. Which goes back to what you said about you don't want to become a character in this universe. You can't if you don't play the game. There's no fun in it.
Yeah. Leftist understood. There's some of this you can sort of draw from the old leftist stuff about platforming. It's like, first off, if you respond like to like when James Lindsay responds to some guy with 100 followers or whatever, like, that's him, like, you are now equal to him. And that's obviously important to him, or he would not respond. This is like the rules of the internet. And it's like, if you're not in a great mind space, this shit, it'll bother you. And like, there's something about the way the internet, it's the kind of thing where like, when if you play get like if anyone's ever played competitive games in an environment where the other person is there, like in the old
Physically
days,
there.
I'm a boomer, I was arcade, but you've played guys in your college dorm or whatever. It's not that frustrating when you lose, but when you lose to this faceless person on the internet, you're much more likely to get very upset. There's this thing on the internet with this, and like, it will make you go insane. I mean, like, there are, if you like actively seek out a feud with like a peer or something, man, like it's like sometimes, like, first off, like with James Lindsay, this is different. So like, if James Lindsay wanted to feud with me, I have way less to lose with him. I'd be like, yeah, let's go at it. Let's knock down fight. I mean, he'd be stupid to do that. I'm a small person compared to him in terms of that kind of thing. He'd be very dumb to do that. You know, if so ignore this. If this is someone much bigger than you, that you should do that. By the way, this is why iDubbbz in the news. iDubbbz took the bait. He made this big video calling out Kino Casino, which that's like these, the Andy Worski's been fighting people on the internet for 20 years. Like, there's no, in PPP, like, these are like the two people you should least want to fight. Like, there's no one on earth that's more equipped to humiliate you than that. Like, this is the dumbest thing you possibly do. But anyways, yeah, so he took this bait and said, oh, they're bad people, blah, blah, and they're gonna, I don't know. It's huge.
So didn't this guy, that was his bit, right? He dresses up like a policeman and says, like, here's all the bad stuff about it. The last time he did that to the annoying H3 guy, like, didn't it blow up horribly in his face? And like, some people are been taken to court because they were sued, and he was largely viewed as the less sympathetic person.
Yeah, H3's Lex Luthor. Like, he's kind of out he's kind of outsmarted these guys a bunch. And then of course iDubbbz, like, at least, like, you know, Destiny's like allegedly a pedophile or whatever. At least he just sort of like he attacked the guy back. You go to iDubbbz, so iDubbbz got attacked, and he said, I don't want to fight online. That's not what I'm gonna do. And then, like, as soon as there was like a bad story about H3 whatever, he immediately piped up and was like, yeah, fuck this guy sucks, this guy's a pedophile, whatever. Like, I mean, he just sucks so bad. But it's what's so great about iDubbbz is that he sucks so bad, and he's a giant failure. That's why we all love to hate him or whatever, because he's this superstar. He streams like 100 people, and it's just terrible. It's terrible. He's in hell. His wife will bring him food, and she has no idea how to cook. He'll barf it up and shit. And like, it's amazing. It's wonderful. So, so we'll all be, enjoying that, but, yeah, you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful with the feuds, and you gotta just watch. Like, it's all about responding to people. Like, that platforming thing it's real. It is real. But let's might as well go to the big story here.
Yeah, let's talk about something.
Well, okay, I've got a little quick hitters here. So let's do some real quick ones. So if you're listening to this, so it's a little video. North Korea's got a parade. They're celebrating their 77th anniversary. I don't know if they got a numerology thing going on with this. Of course, Reuters puts in a little, a sneak diss in there. They're saying, we don't confirm this video is real. It's like, they're just people dancing and fireworks. Like, all you're saying is like, yeah, they're outside of the international system, whatever. But I just thought it was a good moment to stop and reflect. I mean, South Korea's got a lot of problems. North Korea is still chugging along. By the way, Cuba's still chugging along. I don't have as much faith with Cuba as I do North Korea. We're going to be facing, in a big story tonight, a lot of myths. We've all built up a lot of these myths, a lot of the stuff that James Lindsay's clinging on to with cold, his cold dead hands. about things about democracy, open government, and stuff like that. North Korea is a primitive monarchy. That's what it is. And so is like there's going to come a point where people are going to have to ask like real questions about is North Korea better functioning than South Korea? North Korea is not, from my understanding, they're not at least propped up by China. They certainly do a lot of business with the Russians and the Chinese. They give the Russians labor and they get stuff out of there. I mean, we start people talking about the replacement rate. Like you're once again like you can at least have a girlfriend in North Korea.
They're below replacement rate now too.
So they're barely above.
They're okay, but I don't know. I saw it that said that they're below it. It doesn't matter because compared to South Korea, if your TFR is like 1, you're doing good because aren't they into like 0.8 at this point or something crazy like that?
Oh, they're like 2 standard deviations below anyone else. I mean, like they're like in the absolute toilet.
So the thing, what's happening in North, like you can't look at North Korea and say, they must be doing something right. Like they're going the same direction. They're just going slower because they have been sequestered from the international system for so long. But they're going to get there eventually too. In my opinion, it's not really provable one way or the other, but their birth rates are going down. They're not going up. They're going down below replacement rate.
If I had believed the things I was taught in school, this country should not still be running. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm sure, but that's kind of the point of what the point of propaganda is to tell you that it's not going to work. They said the same thing about Cuba for like, I guess we're going on about 75, 80 years at this point, right? So yeah, 60, I guess 65, right?
I have a lot less faith in Cuba because are they a monarchy?
No, not really. It's like if the top guy dies, it's more of like a political jockeying. You know, it's not like a monarchical system where it's hereditary like it is in North Korea.
Yeah, like his like wife or his daughter took over or whatever, and she's kind of a libtard, right?
Took over what?
Cuba. Yeah.
I thought is his brother. I'm sorry, is his brother dead too?
Yeah, Raul died before he did, didn't he?
No, Raul's still alive. He's still he's still in charge, isn't he?
Oh wow. I mean, I haven't seen Raul in like 10 years, and he was looking rough back then.
Well, he's probably like 90 years old at this point, right? Let's look this up. Yeah. Yeah, he's still. I guess he's got a daughter named Mariella, who's the director of the Cuban National Center for Sex Education in Havana.
Yeah, ooh. She's like in charge, and she's like a libtard.
Yeah, he's 94 years old, by the way.
She's super into gay guys. I mean, like that's like her favorite thing in the world.
So Miguel Diaz is the current president of Cuba. He's their first non-Castro leader.
Gotcha.
Thank you. Our resident Cuban politics expert. You've actually been there at least. Okay. Yeah. So you ask if North Korea is a primitive monarchy. No, it's not.
I mean, in my opinion, it is.
Yeah, but it's not. Because I mean, monarchy implies infrastructure that doesn't exist there, and if something happens,
I guess I'm thinking of something more medieval. I mean, there were.
No, I am too. I mean, like medieval monarchies had some rules to it, and their lines of succession. This is just if something ever happened to the last Zhang, that's it. That government, that place is not going to exist anymore.
Okay. Well, anyways, we got to move on. So
yeah,
that's more
Government just collapsed again. Here's what you need to know in 90 seconds. Prime Minister François Bayrou lost a confidence vote in Parliament, becoming the 4th French leader to fall since President Emmanuel Emmanuel Macron's re-election in 2022. And the vote wasn't even close. Opposition parties from both sides united to bring him down. Why? It's all about money. Beru tried to push...
Okay, I'm going to cut this because we're right. I mean, we're all right wingers. I mean, to me, when you look at these European countries, whenever these government falls, my only question is like, does anybody have 51% yet? I mean, because I don't really know anything that's worthwhile past that, but I don't know. Have you guys checked in on this? Will you see all these infographics? Go ahead.
I would say the difference in France, though, is that the president has way more power. Like, it's not a Westminster system. Like, Macron is like insanely powerful. Like when you're elected the president there. So yeah, the government fell apart because they do have the parliamentary system, but Macron still has a lot of power because they unlike a Westminster parliamentary system, the executive has a ton of power. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like it was good enough news to cover, but I don't have anything, and I don't know if the Le Pen's getting in. Unfortunately, I'm not following that closely. Sorry.
So it's you were talking about Mike Johnson earlier, and how he got his job, and part of the reason that he got the job is that it was a really narrow Republican majority, and when that happens, when the two blocks are close together, you're going to have a really hard time picking a leader, and you're going to get somebody who is the least offensive to everybody involved, and that's how you get someone like Mike Johnson. And the problem they're running into in France, I'm not a French politics expert, but my guess is, going by the numbers, as the right grows and they have harder and harder times forming a coalition, they're going to have more arguments between the people they need to bring in. When Macron was elected, none of us is a problem because his big gay centrist party had enough votes to do whatever the hell they wanted.
Yeah, and what happened here was, so just for clarity, Macron is the elected president. We're talking about the prime minister who leads parliament, lost his confidence vote. And basically he lost because both the right-wing parties and the left-wing parties voted against him. So the only support he had were the very centrist parties. So now Macron to form a government in parliament has to decide whether he wants to try to form one with the Socialist Party, but the problem they would theoretically be his most natural allies, but the problem there is he's done pension reform, and they're very, very against that, and they want that unwound. So he's going to have to try and cobble together some sort of weird thing with centrists plus like a center right thing, but not one that includes like Le Pen's party. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, because every European, every Western, every first world country, to use the old term, is going to run into this problem where you have ballooning debts and you have payments that you have to make that you can't really afford, and you have two choices when that happens. One, you can do the adults in the room thing, and you can cut spending, and that pisses everybody off in politics, and you'll lose power. Or you can just try to run out the clock until it's somebody else's problem, until it gets so bad that it's like somebody who doesn't go to the doctor, and you just wait until you get so sick that you're almost dead, and you go to the emergency room. And I don't know. I would guess the latter is going to happen in almost everywhere, because very few people will willingly make political changes that will put them out of power, because that kind of runs contrary to the basic behavior of politicians. And if you were somebody who was going to be self-sacrificing to the nation in that way, you wouldn't be a politician in the first place. You'd be doing something useful. You'd be doing something useful in life, something that wasn't it wasn't kind of gross.
Right on. Can you pull up the link in the private chat?
Sure.
The X account. So I was going to cover, they found this cool tomb, Roman tomb, 3rd century in Albania the other day, but I found something better here in America.
They don't have any posts. It's just nothing.
There's an account though, right?
Yeah, but they haven't posted anything.
Yeah, just pull up the account.
Oh, okay.
So this is Spider Energy, which if you're a gamer out there, you drink these energy drinks. You're a podcaster. I like to have these energy drinks. Well, the Dollar General used to have energy drinks for $1. Spider Energy. Mm-hmm. That ended. I made a post about it like 3 years ago. The end of the $1 Spider Energy drinks.
All right.
You look around, you can't get an energy drink for $1 anymore. So this was a problem. So I tracked down, and if you go back to the account, look at the last post. So they haven't posted anything in a year.
Yeah, since June 2024.
So it looks like they had a deal with Buc-ee's and a deal with somebody else to keep them online after Dollar General pulled them, but it's over. There's no more Spider Energy. I did some Googling around, and I found the five. Oh my God, Weeaboo Judah says a Monster's $3.50 in Canada. That is, you got buggered, dog. That's what they say. I didn't get to finish that speech today. You know, gamers in England, they say that like instead of like, "Oh, you got raped," they'll be like,
"Yeah, that's what bugger. That's what bugger means. Getting cornhole. That's in English slang." Yeah,
but they'll be like, "Oh man, you know, I just played that guy, and I just played a game of Call of Duty. I got absolutely diddled." Okay, they said Dollar General's got 3D Energy for $1.25. Okay, so maybe we're back. I'll have to go but check that out. Anyways, I called this number and they're like, we still got some Spider here. So they gave me an offer so I made them an offer for a case of the last Spider Energy.
How much is in a case?
12 cans.
Okay, so you didn't order it in bulk or anything like that.
No, it didn't sound like they had a lot, but
they weren't shipping a pallet to Bogby's house. Like that's Bogby's version of prepping. Is he just has like a bunker with a pallet of Spider Energy.
Yeah, so I hadn't had this shit in years, but anyway, so I bought it for a pretty damn cheap price, and then they sent me an email after I bought it. Like 30 minutes later, it was like, "Hey, you want 2 more for $5 a piece? Like 2 more cases?" Like it's obvious. Like I don't know who's ended up with this shit, but like, do you know what I'm saying?
So you're saying you got a line on cheap energy drinks?
Yeah. I don't know how old this shit is.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, basically, if you're out there and you would need cheap expired energy drinks, Bogby's got a hookup for you.
DM,
get his DM
on Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be geeked, dude. Like it's gonna be sick. Anyways, okay.
Yeah, I don't drink energy. You don't either, right, Fredo?
No, I don't generally drink caffeine. On very rare occasion, I'll have a coffee or a tea in the morning, but that's like a rare thing. And I can't drink anything with caffeine in it after like, I don't know, like 1 p.m. or so. Otherwise, it'll mess with my sleep.
Yeah, I was talking with Jay Burton about this the other day. He had some good comments about the last podcast, but we were talking about like, we have this idea of like what caffeine does to you, what weed does to you, what all these different things do to you. And all this stuff was set up on the idea of like, where did you get like, well, there's caffeine in tea or in a Coke or whatever, or, you smoke a joint for THC or whatever. All this stuff is irrelevant now. I mean, like, you don't know, like no one smokes weed anymore. Like no one. Like now everyone drinks these like these edible weed drinks that have like 5,000 milligrams of THC and like they're like heroin high. No one's like, oh, I'm going to get some caffeine in me. I'm going to have a hot tea or a cup of coffee or whatever. Now we're slamming the Spider Energies. He said he went to buy some Tall Boys and now like they like. For black people, they used to have these malt liquors like Old English 800 and shit like that.
Colt 45.
Yeah, and then they came out with a
farm, right? Yeah.
And they came out with the high gravity versions that would like F you up faster. because they would have like more sugar in them or something. Like it's like instead of like, hey, here's a cheap beer, it's like this will fuck you up for like $2. He said this is now what all the guys drink. He said he didn't know this, so he thought he was buying beers, but now like you go buy a couple tall boys, they're 12% liquor.
Like who's like what brand is he buying? Like what?
I don't know. I have to ask
Colt 45. Yeah.
No, he said it was marketed to white people.
Ah, so like the Zima of the of the 21st century.
Yeah, if you guys know, Dermer says Mickey's. Yeah, Mickey's Big Mouth. That's old school.
Do you guys remember Four Loko?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
I found I found a Four Loko can on my street the other day. This when I was like putting out the trash. So I don't know if somebody had been. I don't know if that's a bad sign. Like, do I need to move? Like, I need to get like advice from the listeners, maybe. But I don't know if like that was somebody that had been hoarding old Four Locos or what the situation was there, because I thought they were made illegal or something like that.
That was some guy who called the Four Loko, like Bog Beef called the Spider Energy Drink Company and got like three pallets delivered to his house, and he's about to die.
Yes.
Wasn't that stuff insanely bad? Like, I know that's kind of, there's always like little panics about these things, but wasn't that legitimately dangerous to consume in a large quantity?
Well, it kept.
That's my understanding, at least. Yeah.
Well, what it did is like, so by the time you get super drunk, you're also super drowsy, so you kind of pass out before you're going to do anything too stupid.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's like an absolute limit on this. It's the same thing about like beer. It's like, well, it just takes you, that's so much physical liquid to get trashed as it compared to liquor or whatever. But anyway, so Four Locos, it's like, okay, you're getting drunk, but you're also you're getting slammed with caffeine. Yeah, Black Pill Cat says feels like access to every mind altering substance has become trivial in the past 5-10 years. Yes, but we've eliminated, like, from what I understand, like if you want to go buy any illicit drug now, like you can't, like it's all just fentanyl now. So we have effectively eliminated like whatever ecstasy, coke, meth, everything, because it's all just fentanyl now, because it's the only one that's synthetic. You know what I'm saying?
It's so much cheaper than everything else that why wouldn't they?
I think rich people are still doing cocaine though. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm sure that's still around. But like, you know, they say like whatever, you go buy a bag of whatever drug, they're like, it's like I don't know, there's some joke like this. But anyways, you're like, I'll have a bag of ecstasy and I'll have a bag of cocaine and I'll have a bag of meth. And it's like the guy goes, it's all the same bag because it's all just fentanyl, whatever. But anyways, yeah, so there's, by the way, we got another scam. This would be a great sponsor with We Pick Up. The best fighting game player, American at least, is Justin Wong. I don't know if he's won anything lately, but I mean, he was, you know, he's the guy in Evo Moment 37 or whatever. He makes a lot of money streaming stuff. I popped on his stream or whatever. He's like, now a word from our sponsor. And he goes, and he pops a White Claw. And he's like, you know, he's on stream, whatever, and he's like, I'm here enjoying this crisp, new apple flavored White Claw, or whatever. I was like, whoa! You're sponsored by, like, you guys both know what White Claw is, right?
Yeah, it was it was big in like 2019, 2020. Yeah,
it's still.
Well, big. I mean, it's still huge. What ended up happening is it just created a whole category of drink. Now, like, I mean, I see them almost as much as I see beers now. The hard seltzer, just like a zillion brands now.
Yeah. Well, what they've done is now White Claw makes a non-alcoholic White Claw, which I believe it only exists so that social media influencers can promote White Claw without promoting an alcoholic beverage. This is genius.
So that is seltzer water. Okay.
Yeah, but no one buys.
Right.
So this would be like if Miller Lite made Miller Lite Coke, which existed only in theory, and we were like, and now word from our sponsor, Miller Lite. And like,
what why does sorry, it's not off topic because it's part of why does seltzer water still exist aside from mixing drinks? Because like when you go to the store, most people get carbonated water, right? You don't get seltzer water. They're different things. Seltzer water tastes awful. Yes, they are certainly different.
It's just a matter of my understanding is seltzer water, club soda. The only difference is whether or not it's mineral water that they're carbonating, or if it's just like filtered water.
Every time I've ever had seltzer water, it tasted awful, and I don't understand how you can screw up water, but it was awful. Whereas like carbonated water, they sell in the stores and stuff. It's like here's green watermelon, and it's like it tastes a little bit. There's a little bit of taste to it, but it's just water. I don't know. That's why I was asking. That
is flavored seltzer that you're talking about, though. Carbonated water is seltzer. Club soda is the one that has minerals in it. Somebody can Google that and keep me honest here, but I'm like 90% sure that's it. I like both of them, both seltzer water and club soda.
Halo Inverse says that seltzer has sodium, club soda is just water. I take your words for it. So Justin Wong is popping open a White Claw in between rounds of Marvel versus Capcom. Is that what it?
Yeah, is someone going to drink a you going to drink a non-alcoholic White Claw? Like, why not just have a Coke or something? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a non-alcoholic seltzer. It's a non-alcoholic hard seltzer, which means it's just seltzer.
It's a salt seltzer.
Yeah. So I think it's just a scam so he can advertise the booze. But anyways,
right.
Yeah. So here we go.
Trump has fired a top Federal Reserve official, and she's fighting back in court. Lisa Cook is suing President Trump after he tried to remove her from the Fed's Board of Governors last month. A Trump ally accused her of mortgage fraud, allegations she denies, calling them a pretext to install a Trump ally onto the Fed.
Hold on a second. I got to call an audible here. This isn't the story we should be talking about. We should be talking about the story that is the most relevant right now.
Yeah.
This is 2 weeks old. I get it. She's not resigning.
Sorry, I didn't know this. I thought this was an update.
Now, I mean, it is, but this is not the
Let's go on. However, before we finish that, speaking of the Four Locos, I haven't had one in a while, but they're awesome. Monster makes Monster Milk, which is it's
that's sick. An unfortunate name.
Sounds so bad. Everything about that sounds bad.
It is dope, dude. It's like base Soylent. Like it is Monster Milk it's milk, it's whole milk, Monster Energy, and protein powder all in one little bottle or whatever.
So it's less gross than it sounds.
Yeah, I guess less gross than it sounds, but that is a bad name. Yeah,
I think it's Monster Energy milk or whatever. Oh my God! It's everything you need. It's just I should just only drink that. It's literally just whole milk. 400 milligrams of taurines and protein powder.
Our boy Hillbilly Eleggy said Monster Milk be what the ladies are reading on the treadmill at the gym.
Go man, gallon of Monster Milk a day. Oh God, the scene from Star Wars Episode 8. God, oh my God.
Where he's drinking. I never watched the last two. I called it quits after the first one. But yeah, he gets a nice big big glass of blue milk, right?
Betrayal! Damn you to hell, Disney. Okay, let's go. I gotta play a bumper. Okay, I've got a tweet here that I think is the best summation of the events here in shortest my words. This is from Memetic Sisyphus on Twitter, great account. It really is an incredible story. First, you have a psycho killer that murders a woman for no reason. While talking about race, you have a black magistrate that let him walk, who never passed the bar, and owns a treatment center that serves as an alternative to jail. You have a black city council that interrupts their emergency meeting discussing the murder to have a party. And you have the New York Times comparing the coverage to stories of Jim Crow. So this is obviously the murder by an insane maniac of a Ukrainian woman on a bus or a subway bus.
Yeah, look, I'll give you the quick story. A 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee was fatally stabbed on August 22nd on the light rail in Charlotte's South End. It's happened in Charlotte, North Carolina. It didn't happen in like Detroit, LA, New York, whatever. It happened in Charlotte. The 34-year-old DeCarlos Brown, who has a reported history of mental health issues, is charged in the killing. Her death has received national attention with public comments from the president, Elon Musk, and officials everywhere. Yeah, if you've probably, it's funny. It's not funny. This story, when it became known to us on Twitter, I was asking people about it in real life if they had heard about it. I would bring it up, and no one had any knowledge of it that I ran into until this past weekend. And then I guess it broke out of containment and the story got so big. I mean, once the president himself starts talking about it, you can't really.
Yeah, that's it. Some reporter, I don't know who it was, asked him about it on the tarmac when he was getting on a plane. And Trump was like, had not heard about it. So he was like, what did he say? Like, I'll know all about it by tomorrow. Right. Yeah. And then I think, I don't know this, but what appears to have happened is like he called up Stephen Miller, who has his like finger on the pulse of all this stuff, because Stephen Miller had been tweeting about it. And then that's when Trump started making statements, and that's when the story broke out of containment.
So this is a super important story. It's not good, but I was glad that our favorite punching bag, Matthew Iglesias, broke character for the first time in a long time. I've seen it. You know what I mean? He's now like, he's supposed to be this base guy that sees above the X's and O's and stuff. No, he just blurted out a tweet that said, I'm surprised that the moral of this story is the conservatives don't want to spend more money on services and like, okay. That, first off, it was great that he felt that he broke character. That means he's weakening. His power is decreasing, because he would normally be not stupid enough to post that. This is like, it's in terms of like first off, in terms of like an easy, like there is an easy solution for like this guy in particular, which appears to be that the feds are going to charge him. That's great. Because this guy is like the perfect assailant here for this, the crime, these crime waves that has terrorized us over and over. So this guy was, I've got this tweet a couple years ago. That's a queef. This tweet from a couple years ago that said, the one problem that progressives can't bypass is criminally insane black guy with 30 felonies. And that's literally this guy. This guy was insane. I mean, he's insane. If you look up his restaurant, it's not just a guy that like rob, because some of these stories, it's guys that just like, they just like rob like non-stuff. Like apparently like the last time he got arrested, he told the police there was people living in his skin and stuff like that. No, this is just like, this is a like frothing at the mouth, completely insane person that has no way of they're schizophrenic or whatever. In like the language they said like, oh, he's suffering from schizophrenia. I don't know if that's the way I'd want to frame this stuff right now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Go ahead.
That's the way they want to frame it. Here's the thing. So we have this concept through pop culture, and I mean, there's a very obvious reason for it, and you understand at the end, like the idea that when we say somebody's crazy, they're a psycho, frothing at the mouth, slavering lunatic, or whatever. We have the idea that like that means they're like kind of bestial, and they're just flipping out on the subway, speaking in tongues and stuff, and that is true sometimes. And this guy is obviously crazy, but they did a disservice to people by posting mostly that clip of he kind of raises his arm behind her, and then they cut away. They cut away, and then it shows her by herself again. Because you get the impression that he like brought the knife down like Jason Voorhees in a slasher movie, right? Just psycho stabbing somebody. That's not what he did. I saw the unedited video, and what the guy does is he reaches over and cuts her throat. If you were in a war movie, he does that. Like, he aims for her carotid artery. It's not just I'm crazy, I'm wildly stabbing at somebody. He intentionally executes her. And maybe you think there's no big distinction there, but there is. Because these people who were treating them as like absolute raving lunatics, they're usually not so crazy that they'll attack people who are bigger and stronger than them. Somehow this only comes out when they're dealing with a little 98-pound Ukrainian woman, an old lady, children, people who can't fight back. Their insanity never makes them attack Daniel Penny. It makes them attack people who can't defend themselves. And I'm not saying that makes them sane, but what I'm saying is that makes them more culpable than society is willing to treat them. In other words, this guy was sane enough to kill her like you would kill cattle, or like a hitman would kill somebody in a movie. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's even worse than the idea of just this psycho walking around with the butcher knife just wildly waving it at people, because that means there's an element of intelligence in what he's doing. Like, he knows what he's doing.
Right. So I that's why I always say criminally insane. Because, yes, we do have a concept of the insane bum who they normally have a bizarre gait. This is like a guy that thinks he's Napoleon, whatever. You know what I mean? Or someone who's smoked so much heroin, they're on another planet, and they might attack people, but it's like, whatever,
when you see them on body cam footage, like that crazy lady with the butcher's knife who runs at the cop, like that's what we think of as crazy. And you see that because they are attacking someone that can hurt them. And they do. Like the video is Paul is right before a cop puts a 9mm round through her sternum or whatever. But yeah, what this guy did, it ain't the same thing.
Criminally insane is like the Joker is insane. You know what I mean? Or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so that makes it so much worse, in my opinion. And I don't know. I guess in the long run it doesn't matter. The end result is the same. But the idea that can happen to somebody on the subway is unsettling. Not just for we talk about this all the time. The bad thing about allowing criminals to run rampant in cities is that it's not about people like us necessarily. It's about, your sister, your daughter, your mom, whatever. But what happened to her could happen to literally anybody. It doesn't matter how
saw that coming.
You could have been a Navy SEAL and this guy just stepping up from behind you and cutting your throat. There's nothing you could do about that. This is a different kind of random killing, and it was caught on camera. The entire world can see it now if they want to. And I think that cameras are, and first it was body cams, which is probably the biggest own goal that the left ever came up with in the 21st century. But now that there are cameras everywhere, you see this more, and it cuts out all the lies that progressives have about crime and why people commit them. This guy didn't have to be on the streets. He's been in 10 times. He was known to have mental issues. There's no reason for him to be out in the general public, except as Quayway pointed the article out to me and you earlier. Magistrate Judge Teresa Stokes, who released 14-time criminal DeCarlos Brown, is also the director of operations at Second Chance Services, a mental health and addiction clinic in Charlotte. So, in other words, I'm not saying that she released the DeCarlos into her company's care, but she could be doing that with other people. She is a magistrate, and she's also the director of an NGO that receives money every time a magistrate lets a psychopath out of their custody.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of locale stuff, Keemstar has drama alert. I consider that Quayway gave us a patronage alert. I need a patronage alert.
Yeah.
This is a big part. I don't want to get too much into this. This is a big part of writing about my book. I was trying to think about how to approach this, because when you talk about how patronage works and stuff, like, well, let's just, okay, there's an issue. So first off, there's just this murder, and I think that we're gonna get this solved. We're probably gonna get a death penalty by having the feds do this. I mean, the Dems could fight that. I think that'd be very stupid, but they're pretty stupid. So if we talk about like civilizational problems, there's problems like there's one that I haven't heard about in a while. Remember the one about go ahead.
Just to clear this up for everybody, in case you didn't know, I'm afraid I might have more to say about it. It's committing murder on mass transit is a federal crime, not just a state crime. Like it's his own specific federal crime. So he can be put into the federal justice system, and yeah, he could receive the death penalty.
Yeah. So I saw Rufo did a tweet saying we're going to use civil rights law and stuff. Well, regardless of whatever you want to do, the problem of criminally insane guy, and we're talking about like a small percentage population. There was a report out of Atlanta a couple of years ago that said like 400 people are responsible for like 50% of the violent felonies in Atlanta. They just keep letting them go. Like these are people, like the second that they're out of police custody, they're going to commit another violent crime again. And so if we take the, like a parody of, the left has the,
school to prison pipeline.
No, what do they call like the ideal the revolutionary subject?
Right.
Well, I guess this is the revolutionary subject to them. So in terms
absolutely, yeah, they were explicit about this in 2020, by the way.
So the character of criminally insane black guy who commits crimes nonstop. Okay, how can you solve, what can you do about this? Because these people, like, it's a serious deal. And by the way, like, it's not, okay, this happens in cities or whatever. Like, by the way, like, okay, in Florida, Tallahassee's a city run by libtards. Our capital city run by libtards. This is an issue. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you look at this problem, well, how was this problem solved in the past? Well, in the past, so here's one way that you could solve this problem. You could solve this problem if the abundance libs, if guys like whatever, if the centrist libs had the power to had ultimate power of the Democrat Party, they could all agree to okay, we'll agree to multiple sentencing guidelines, whatever. So it's up to discussion whether they have that power. I don't think they have that power right now. In terms of they may have that power at national level. I don't think they have that power in terms of city council and local politics. I mean, I don't really care. So go ahead.
Oh, no. Go ahead. You continue.
So that would be a solution. And normally I bring that up. I'm not saying we should do that. I'm just, it's one thing to note that was done in the past. That's literally how it was done, because literally we have this is something you must accept as your right wing or whatever. You have no control over, we are not the people who vote in city councils in any urban area. And that's who is and so, okay, so that's a much bigger, now you go ahead.
I won't go into this because you guys have already heard it, but the Justice Department was literally created for this quote unquote problem. You have a federal organization that will take people away from the places that they committed alleged crimes and transport them to another place that is politically hostile to them and have a jury there decide their fate. They did this to Douglas Mackey back in 2022, 23, around that time, when he got charged for making the meme about Hillary Clinton and voting by phone. They said, okay, you made a tweet in Florida, and somebody in Brooklyn might have seen that tweet because the internet cables run through Brooklyn, so we're gonna charge you there. The solution here, if you have the political will to do it, and I mean, obviously I'm not a lawyer, so maybe you can't legally do this. It's not possible. What you would do is you take people like this and move them away from, if you have federal charges against them, just don't charge them in downtown Charlotte. Change the venue. That's how you do this. And people are talking about charging with the hate crime. Yeah, you should be using those hate crime. The civil rights division was just restaffed this year. You should be using that. And I don't think you need to charge if someone commits a hate crime in Atlanta. You don't need to try them in Atlanta. You should try them somewhere else. And that is the way this actually works. And this is going to come up a lot more. You
think that could be done at scale?
Well,
I mean, downtown Cincinnati, it's 3:00 in the morning Saturday night. Some guy kills somebody on the street.
I'm gonna give the diplomatic answer to this. No, you're not gonna do it for every murder that's committed in Cincinnati. But if somebody who's outside the bounds of, what was it, the term that the libs used, mutual combat or whatever, if it's outside that, if it's a random person, if it's a pretty little girl on the subway, then yeah, drag their asses out. And you can do it at scale because you're the United States government. That's what you're gonna have to do. This is gonna become a bigger problem because we are now a degenerate empire that's full of people who don't particularly like each other. If you go on trial in a place that is demographically different, your jurors do not share your ethnicity, there's a good chance they're going to rule against you if you're being accused, or let off the person who committed a crime against you, because this is just how human beings behave. And what was it, Michael Lynn's thing about this is why jury trials don't work, and because in the past white jurors were racist against blacks and now black jurors are racist against whites. That's just human nature, and that's going to be the whole concept of a jury of your peers was developed with the idea that it's going to actually be your peers. It's going to be people who share values, who share a common culture with you. That's not true anymore. If you got a jury pool in New York or LA, there's a good chance none of the people who are going to be sitting in that jury box are your peers. They're not like you. They probably don't like you. In the case of the sitting president of the United States, he got dragged before a civil jury in New York, and basically the people there who don't like him said he was liable for something that's absolutely absurd. Almost nobody believes unless they're a Democrat partisan. So this is going to keep coming up. So yeah, they better have a plan for how they're going to deal with it. And an easy way to deal with it is to use federal civil rights law, which is, as you have pointed out before, is the galactic constitution. So use that. And that, you don't have to in this case because you've already got a reason to try him in federal court. But the next time something like this happens, charge them with a hate crime. Drag them into court. Remember when Chauvin's trial ended, there were federal agents in the courtroom waiting because if he was found not guilty, they were going to arrest him in the courtroom on federal civil rights charges. So you better be prepared to do the same thing if you're going up against the Democrats. And part of being a Democrat is, for reasons that I very seriously doubt that the black residents of these cities appreciate very much, is that you want to protect these people because they are the revolutionary subject. They're your muscle in waiting. They used it in 2020. They used it in the 60s. They used it in the 90s. I don't think that there are people, anybody who's not completely reliant on the Democrat Party's patronage likes this, including the people who have to live in these neighborhoods. So the only people who are going to be angry are your political enemies. So yes, you should be doing that. Flex that muscle immediately.
Okay. Yeah. Black Pill Cat brings up. Yeah. So, there was a reprieve from this, and that was, basically the Clintons and Joe Biden, everyone, obviously Hillary Clinton, super predator, all this super predator stuff was the 3 strikes you're outlaws, whatever that, by the way, does solve this. I don't like, yeah, I'm sure we can use whatever the feds, or we have some special, we can use Band-Aids for these super high profile cases, but I do not think there is a ready solution available to that exists right now without some form of of serious escalation. I mean, I do think this presents like an actual problem for our system. Like,
of course it does. Yeah. Yeah. This is why they allowed them to do criminal justice reform and the like in the 80s and 90s, because it was reaching the point where these places were becoming unlivable, and that was a huge problem for them. That they didn't do that shit willingly. That wasn't their idea. Mass incarceration was a last ditch effort by progressives to deal with this intractable problem. And of course, as time went on and those places got more livable, they forgot why they did it in the first place, and now we're going to slowly ramp back up to square one. Yeah. So yeah, it is a problem for them. I don't know how they're going to deal with it. You can always do what Trump is doing right now and just send in the military to make life difficult for criminals to do their quote unquote jobs. That's what he did in DC and what he's threatening to do to Chicago. And in Chicago, it's an added bonus of Chicago PD and Chicago politicians are not going to cooperate with ICE immigration raids, right? Well, they don't have to if the National Guard's there. You don't need their help anymore. So yeah, you'll increasingly see that happen too.
Yeah, but I mean, those aren't cops. That's not, that's not full time. That's a flash mob. I mean,
right.
After the day, the month, or whatever is over, this problem will persist without either a serious legal innovation. It's not gonna I do think there was debate among the Democrats, but the Clintons lost, and it wasn't just the Clintons, but obviously, and even to this day, you can find them on Twitter. There is a section of libs on Twitter who would be for mass incarceration, whatever. But you go look at the demographics. These people do not make up the demographics of people who vote in these. They're just not the. Go ahead.
I don't agree that they lost. Now, it's possible that we are watching them in the process of beginning to lose, but they didn't lose. Like when people were calling Clinton on the carpet for the super predators and mass incarceration, she won that primary pretty easily. And Kamala Harris was a former prosecutor. I know she chirped at Biden in the primary about being racist, but like if you look at what she did crime wise, she wasn't really an abolish the police person. So but I agree that the direction is trending is bad for them because you have all these NGOs and you have Soros DAs and stuff like that, but they don't have to go down this path. They could choose not to do it. Whether they will or not is a totally different question.
I mean, I don't think we have no way of knowing, but I think these urban ethnic machines are powerful. By the way, I think that they do not share the same interests. They don't care what Ezra Klein has to say.
Yeah,
I don't think Ezra Klein can. You go look at this is the common thing with the abundant stuff. Notice. We look at the Mom Donnie victory that's made people so happy in New York City, and there will be other victories like that. They will be in places that have very specific demographics. People are going we talk about it every day, but people just forget it. They just forget that politics isn't actually about us debating ideas and shit. It's about the percentage of who and what is where. And that can be highly arbitrary sometimes. I was reading a tweet. I don't want to say her name, but there's one of these people, the thinkers out there, the posters out there. It's like one of the last Bernie holdouts. And they were doing this sort of reason thing. They were like, well, look, and they were saying obviously very, very reasonable things. They're like, well, how, I don't see how Democrats can do what they say they want to do without being tough on crime, blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff. And it's and I was looking at the demographics of this person. I'm like, you have no say in this party. Like you are like you're like a I can't say it without giving it away, but like that's great, and I feel the same way. But we don't have any say there. I have no say. Like if you don't have and so you're not going to walk. What are you going to do? You're going to go to Harlem, or Harlem is a dated example, or whatever. But you're going to go to the hood and you're going to do this convincing thing. No, you're not.
The Bernard brother has as much power as the Jim Webb Democrat does today. Nothing. You're not in the math anymore. Sorry. I saw a really funny post today. Somebody said that Bernard Sanders is like a mega church pastor for progressivism. Like that's just kind of his thing. Is he gives the sermon and he takes some money and stuff, but it's not real. There's nothing there because he doesn't have any real authority. And obviously the primary electorate and the people who control the party don't care what he thinks either. So yeah, it's bad times. But yeah, it would be, hey, if those people were in charge of the Democrat Party, we'd be in hog heaven right now. Because like we'd be having arguments about stuff that we have genuine disagreements, but it would be politics, kind of politics amenable to us. Arguing about who gets what. But unfortunately, we ain't there. You're ethnic machines, and people grabbing what they can.
Well, I think, and this is because my brain or whatever. I think the story of Bernie is very simple, and it goes back to these same numbers and percentages. Bernie as a House of Representative, as a U.S. House member, everybody loved him. Everybody loved him. Yeah. Like literally, like 75% of the stuff he would post on Twitter and stuff. I would see right, left, even like white nationalists would be like, oh, I kind of agree with that. That's kind of wild, whatever. Senator, like, by the way, I couldn't name you like 4 senators that I would agree with on like more like 20. Like the Senate, is like that is like the beating art of evil, whatever. When he's a senator, he does not represent those those white union guys that go hunting on the weekend in Vermont. He's divorced from that. He doesn't have anything to do with that now. He represents a state, and those interests are what makes up the person. So the second that Bernie goes from the House to the Senate, he becomes what he is.
You could make the argument, and we won't get into it tonight, but you could make the argument that really when you move from the House to the Senate now, you're not even really representing the state anymore. You're representing the party. And to some extent, some people in the House do that too, and that's one of the bad directions American politics has been trending. But as far as the Senate goes, it's absolutely true. And these arguments will pop up every once in a while about the Electoral College and the Senate being two to a state, blah, blah, blah. Like all of that these rules were created to preserve the power of the states because, like, from a rational standpoint, if you are a Vermont politician, you want Vermont to have as much power in the United States as possible. You want Vermont to punch above its weight class. When you see people in smaller states trying to get the Electoral College abolished or entertaining ideas of making the Senate based on population, that's a person who is actually harming the power of the citizens of their state by doing that. Like if a Virginia senator who wants to abolish the Electoral College, you're trying to make Virginia be less important in American politics. If that happens, nobody has any reason to give a crap about what happens in Virginia other than it being the suburbs of the empire. But you see this all the time, and obviously this goes back to the original warning about political parties and how they create perverse incentives. And when you transition to the Senate from the House, that's going to happen because, like, I mean, perhaps it's naive, but your local reps do care more about local politics because they have to. They can't just talk about the hot button issues. They have to be like, I'm going to stop the pipeline that's going to run across the mountain, or I have to do something about how shitty I-81 is. You have to do that, or you're going to get run out of office.
Yeah, base Bernie was base because he would have been out on his ass if he that's when he had the rate rating from the NRA, whatever. I'm glad, like whoever, whichever guy in founding father, whatever decided we should tally up the popular vote. I'm glad we do it just because, like, like last time Trump still won the popular vote, but I never you still saw Democrats, like, you have to give them the cope.
Popular vote wasn't supposed, like, the founders that was never their idea. That all came much later. When the country was founded, it was just like, okay, the state governments are going to decide who's the president, and
but you have to tally it to give them the cope. You know what I mean?
You didn't have to. They didn't.
I'm making a joke.
I got you. Okay, all right.
Like, yeah, you won, but one day we're gonna get rid of the You good. That's when you get a pat on the back. Great job, whatever. It's like Trump still won the popular vote last time. I didn't say anything. Whenever Democrats were like, yeah, you guys won, but that's because the electoral college. Like, yeah, I know, Grandpa. All right, time to go to bed. No, actually, Trump won the popular vote too. But look, that's not the point. It's not the point. I mean, there's no use getting into it. You could go home with your head held high. You won the vote. That does not matter. So, even though you didn't.
That used to be abstracted, I think, when we were arguing about it in the 2000, 2004, 2000, those elections. But now that like we know for a fact there are at least 55 million legal residents, alien residents, plus another 10 to 50 million illegals here.
I heard that 55 million. And there would be people who I respect who popped up and they said, you guys shouldn't run with that number. They said that is every single person that's been granted a visa, and the number could be much smaller. But it's like,
sure,
okay, well, how many people are here from Germany to go to Disney World? It's not 30 million. You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean?
So we'll be conservative and we'll go with there are 30 million aliens in the country, and there are more than 30 million, but we'll go with that.
These people made it sound like that, like it could be like 5 million or something. I'm like, oh, no, like what? I don't know. That's a lot of people on vacation, bro.
Yeah. So the counted population, it's at least 10%. It's probably more like 15. It could be as high. Some people think it's as high as 30, whatever. A huge portion of the country are people who are not citizens. So the popular vote stuff, and this is relevant because California can functionally allow, not functionally, they do literally allow illegals to live there. Illegals have kids, the kids become citizens. So popular vote would be a disaster for a very obvious reason. The states like California have every incentive to just allow anybody to come in there and become part of the. But I know that's an of course thing, but we weren't arguing about that 10 years ago. That wasn't the thing. The popular vote stuff was all about, we're not reflecting the accurate will of the electorate. No, now people understand. The point isn't what the electorate says in 2024, 2028. It's what's going to happen in 20 years in the future when the demographic bomb explodes. And I think that was an important leap for people to make in politics, and it comes up constantly now, which is a good thing.
Yeah. So I mean, it would be very, very difficult. I mean, the Democrats would have to get some kind of Trump/Mao figure to get enough power to be able to do that. Of course, our argument would be like, well, the country would have never founded without the electoral college. Like, no one would have agreed to this. However, if they had the power, whatever, those kind of it'll be, whoever's got the power makes the rules. Like, no one's going to give a shit. You know what I mean?
We found that out in 1860. Yeah. It doesn't matter what the rules are when you signed up. Possession is 9/10 of the law. And if they can get away with it, they will. Going back to so Trump had some comments about this murder that were, I don't know. I think they really helped propel this into the normie consciousness.
Well, real quick, my dad said that this story is wall to wall on Fox, and apparently, it's the story is everywhere now.
Yeah, we cannot.
It spun up late. It did not. You know what I mean? Like this was forced in the news somehow.
Yeah,
right?
we heard about this like a week and a half or more ago. I saw it first on Twitter. Here's what he said. He went on TV and said this. Here's the president on ABC. We cannot allow a depraved criminal element of violent repeat offenders to continue spreading destruction and death throughout our country. We have to respond with force and strength. We have to be vicious just like they are. It's the only thing they understand. So there you go.
Okay, I've got a little. We're doing better on time than I thought we'd be. I've got a little clip here.
We're here out in beautiful Chicago to come out here and do an operational surge in which we're calling it Operation Midway Blitz. We're always here, and we operate here in Chicagoland area. We have our offices here and in the state of Illinois and in other states surrounding Illinois. So far, it's been successful. We have successfully arrested some criminal aliens over the last few days. We just began our surge. We're going to be bringing in our partners, our other DHS partners, DOJ partners, CBP partners coming in. So they'll be coming in and participating in this ICE-led operation.
Yeah, a lot of people are sending that to me. Got a federal agent wearing golden pin of the president's, the president. The guy looks badass. He's got the big beard, the operator, which, I mean, that's got to mean something, right? Because it's like, well, the idea, and there was a lot of, the idea is when you see a guy who's like currently employed in the military or the police, he's got a big beard. I know, like, so I used to, I went to school on a military base, and every guy that was a contractor always had a beard. And they told me that was like, that's basically to tell women that they're not in the army, that they're a contractor, that they make more money. You know what I mean?
Based. I didn't know. Yeah, that makes sense though. Yeah. Because like that's the whole model. You make bad. You don't get anything when you're in the military. You get out, you get paid like 5 times your salary as a contractor, and that's when you've made it.
Yeah, I'm the big dog, and so like obviously, like I don't think you can have a big ass beard like that and be a cop. So that guy must be like a special guy or whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, I think you can for religious reasons, right? So you either have to have that in a turban, or you're something else entirely. That guy had police on his uniform, but he was outside an ICE facility. This is, by the way, one of the forthcoming. I mean, we don't know actually. Trump just keeps saying he's going to send ICE to Chicago. It seems like it's going to happen, that they're prepping for it. This is one of the. I know everybody was mad about the big beautiful bill because it had a lot of crap in it, but it gave ICE like a military-sized budget. You're going to see. Hopefully, we're going to see a lot more of this kind of thing happen. And this was one of the. You could make a lot of campaign promises and talk about culture and all that shit, but actually giving money to build more ICE facilities and hire more ICE agents, that's actually doing something both politically and institutionally. You're actually accomplishing something. Those guys are getting paid to do your political bidding. I'm glad that they squeaked that through, because there was a moment where there were people both online and in the houses of power who were saying like, we should just reject this because the bill is so bad it's not worth it. That would have been insane. What happened in DC? I mean, I think that the Trump administration's theory about this might be that by demonstrating what you can do by just enforcing the law, that it could cause changes in the way the locals behave. What do you think, Fredo?
I was just going to say, I actually think there are very few people that actually were against one big beautiful bill because like, oh, like the immigration stuff, they might have said this, but the immigration stuff, yeah, it's on point, but there's just too much wasteful spending in here and debt cliff. I just think that was all subterfuge because they didn't want mass deportations. Like
Yeah.
that's consistently been my theory on that.
Yeah, I think that the theory here is that if, like in DC especially, you can change the behavior of local politicians, or maybe change the public's view on the Republican Party and law and order. I don't know if that'll work, but it's never a bad idea to raise the flag and go.
It was worth a shot. You like at worst your base loves it, right? Like that's the worst case, but that's all you get out of it. And like it has changed a little bit, at least at the edges. I mean, notably, like Muriel Bowser like actually supports the federal takeover from last I checked, because even like she considers her own city council to be so bonkers that like they're against it, the city council in DC. Like she considers her own city council to be so nuts that this kind of gives cover to like clean stuff up. You know what I mean? And if you're mayor, I mean, one of the differences between being mayor and being city councilman, like in these big cities, is the mayor has like a much stronger connection to the commercial interests in the city, who on some level are going to want it cleaned up. You know what I mean? So like it does create this cover for mayors in DC especially, but by example, perhaps like throughout the country. That's where I think it might not happen, but there's at least a chance.
Yeah, there have been a couple cities who announced that they were going to hire more police officers and stuff. Basically, like, please, Daddy Trump, don't come here and spank us. We'll do better.
And then the other side of it is like these like liberal cities in Republican states, like.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's going to do it, but like New Orleans gets talked about a lot because the governor has said like, yeah, you can come in and crack skulls in New Orleans. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like we're completely fine with that.
Yeah, that would be the smart use of power. We were talking earlier about like what can you do because of the structure of the United States is the state. States have supremacy within the state. If you have a friendly government in the state legislature and hopefully as a governor, you can do a lot more than you can in a place like California, where legally Gavin Newsom and the California State Assembly, like they are supposed to be able to make as bad decisions about California as they want to. It becomes a problem when it impacts the entire country, but like that is their prerogative. Well, it's like a place like Louisiana, or I guess at this point North Carolina is a purple state and not a red state anymore. But places like that, yeah, there's no reason not to do this, because you're not going to get pushback from the government. And you've talked to us about this before. Different states have different rules for what kind of power the state government has over municipalities. But in most of them, you could get away with just saying, I don't care what you say, whoever the mayor of New Orleans is. This is happening, and they can stay as long as they want, because this is good. My people like this. They like the streets being cleaned up.
Yeah. We got some breaking news here. So, Japanese Prime Minister stepped down, and that may have happened before, but the breaking news is that so the main conservative party over there, not the conservative party, but the main sort of center right party or whatever, looking to form a coalition. Sancido, who we checked in before, Sancido said, "Hey, we'll form a coalition with you. I mean, and you'll have enough guys to rule. One condition, only one condition: 0 immigrants."
Because that was one of the big, this prime minister who had to step down, he floated an idea of importing a boat, like a Japanese
he
standards.
was going to flood them.
Yeah, and yeah, so hey, we talked about this a lot of times on the show. Right now, they're still a nation, and if you can keep that going for another 20 years, you could probably weather through the stuff that's happening here. It's like China too. When people talk about, I came up in an argument the other day about like China replacing America as the global hegemon. That's probably not going to happen because it seems like the Chinese government wants China to remain a nation rather than what the United States is just in Europe has turned itself into. And that means you can't really do that. You can't be the global hegemon unless you open the doors for everybody and you give up that essential quality of what makes you who you are. And the Chinese they've never done that willingly that I know of, although I admit I'm not a Chinese history guy.
Britain did it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, very, very recently, historically, like England. We didn't talk about this when we talked to Josh Boone because he is an Anglo disrespecter. But you know the English have been the English really since like what 600 AD, and that's not over yet. But like by the time I die, that might be no longer true. And that's crazy that could happen. Like even the Normans didn't manage what people like Blair and pretty much everybody who's been in power since him. Yeah. So this is the test of the 21st century. Can you remain a nation? Can you stick together, or will you cuck and do the equivalent of debasing the currency to your entire population just to keep the pension scam running for another generation? Maybe.
So that's this thing that's happened. It just made me laugh because I remember what used to happen. That would piss me off. But I've got a decently big Twitter account now, but I didn't always have. And so I know a lot of you listening to this, you probably don't have a whole bunch of thousand followers. But I remember what it was like, because the worst thing that would happen was that, and I didn't have a podcast, and so it was on my only place to do takes. The worst thing that would happen, like one of the things I was like, my only motivation to get a big account was that, like, if you have a small account and you post a good take, if your take gets stolen by someone with a bigger account, I mean, that's what they do. There's a whole bunch there's a whole bunch of guys like 100,000 plus followers, whatever, and they just steal from smaller accounts. And like, you can't be like, oh, I said that first because they got 100,000 followers. Like, you're screwed. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
I
blocked those guys, by the way. Like Ian Miles Chung, blocked immediately.
I think I had a pretty good take. It got stolen, but it didn't do anything to me because I'm like, I have a podcast. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you didn't actually steal shit from me. So, but it was like, I don't really do takes all that much on Twitter anymore. But it's relevant in this story because it was pissed me off because I popped open the New York Times story, and then I looked at CNN, and I looked at all the stories regarding the murder in North Carolina. Headline for the New York Times: a gruesome murder in North Carolina ignites a firestorm on the right. Okay, CNN News. Video showing fatal stabbing of Ukrainian refugee on Charlotte light rail stirs debate on crime in major New York cities. Fuck you. That is not how you are supposed to report the story. That goes on the editorial page. You tell me who, what, when, where, why. Say, crazy guy stabbed a woman on the train over there. I read the story. I talk about with my friends. Do not start a story saying, hey, have you seen what people are saying about the murder? That's what we're supposed to do after we read your stupid story.
Well, you know what this is, right? That what would have happened in the past is nobody would have heard about this story and they wouldn't have ever talked about it, but they can't now because the president's talking about, everybody sees it on social media. So they have to say something about what happened. And what's the best way for a lib to present this is that conservatives pounce on horrible murder, right? Just say like, isn't it horrible that they noticed this thing? And that way you can cover the horrible thing that one of your clients did, but you don't have to make it about that. You can make it about how mean these people are for noticing that it happened. And it's a joke because it never works in the opposite direction. Like that'll never happen. If there were a million Ukrainian girls on the subway knifed to death in one day, they wouldn't report on that. And if one guy gets shot by the police 0.5 seconds after he decided to stop trying to kill them, they would blast that all day long. There's no reciprocation. It's all horseshit. So whenever you see them say conservatives pounce on this and here's the meta narrative about this story, that means we're losing. This is bad for us. We have to say something, so we're going to do it. This is their version of thoughts and prayers. And yeah, it is annoying, but the good news is it means that they failed to do the thing that gave them power in the 20th century, which is maintain the narrative. They've lost control of that in this particular instance. They don't want to talk about this, but they kind of have to.
This is the New York Times and CNN. And like if I go to Starbucks and they give me a beer, I'm not going to be pleased. Like, I wouldn't have come to this place to get a beer. That's not what I'm here for. You've just broken everything. Like, when I go to the newspaper, like there's literally, I am never ever going to read, like, I don't care what's in that article. It really has nothing to do with like if whatever's in this article is left or right or how it's spin or whatever. Like, this is not your job. You don't tell me this shit. And like, the more comic example is you can go to like my favorite, which may have never happened, but it's like headline story: LeBron James drawing fire from the LGBT community. If you try to like puzzle that, like if you try to like figure out like, okay, what happened to who, where, and why? Like, you have like what do you have to go on with that story? You have absolutely nothing. Nothing. And this is the easiest story in the world. This is, who the guy is, who the perpetrator, the victim is. You have a murder weapon, you have a time, date, you have a video. This is literally like you could know how to report this story after your first semester of journalism school. This is very, 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 very simple.
Yeah, I mean what they're trying to do, and obviously this is not working as well as it used to. They just say basically it's racist for you to notice this and talk about it. And I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but the last few years that's just gotten less and less effective. It doesn't seem to be working, especially going by what not just people online, because people online get crazy and radical, but like people who have positions of political power are saying things that you definitely weren't allowed to say in 2020 and you wouldn't have said even in 2015. And so I think that's lost its power. The only move they have left is to, whenever these things come up, is to say like, well, and they love doing this with the transsexuals. It's like, what's the problem of violent men? The damn men are killing innocent women on the trains. We got to do something about all these people with the Y chromosome doing horrible violence to people. Once they start going that way, you'll know they're really hurting, because that's kind of the last resort before you just give up and you have to change your politics like some of the trans exclusionary radical feminists did.
Yeah, but this shit should just be illegal. I mean, this is like look, like, you had a lot of play in, like, by the way, like, so the New York Times, like, this is a source that like I can use on a PhD presentation. I can use this in court. I can use this, like, this is like a, there's almost like a currency attached to this, like this thing, and they're supposed to be held to these standards or whatever. This is actually who you go to say, here's the article I have right here. It says that Wanda Carlos killed the woman, and they recorded it. That's their job. And of course, like, you know, in the old days, you had you could, like, the way the rules was, look, you can propaganda this up by, you can use weasel words. You can say, unruly youth instead of black guy. Look, you can do that. You can do that legally, and you can do that. But if you just like you just printing editorials in as news, that is bullshit. I don't know what, luckily at this point, I think this only happens with big stories. This is something that really bothers me because this happens to me every Tuesday. Every Tuesday I go and preparing the show, I gather up news stories. And like, I've mentioned this 1,000 times before, but literally this happens more often than it doesn't. Like, I can't,
right, because
literally when we had Will Hild on, I said, I can't find a story that reports the original story. I can only find the meta-analysis story.
Okay, well, that's an easy one to explain. The reason is because there's no money in journalism anymore. They don't have people sitting down writing these stories. They've always been stenographers for certain views, but it used to be there would actually be at your local newspaper, there'd be a couple people sitting at the desk, they'd write stuff up. And how you would cover this would be, let me throw on my mid-century announcer voice, like, public scandalized by horrific murder in Charlotte, North Carolina. And that's all you have to say. It's because you don't need to put the secret sauce on this story. But as time has gone on, there's been less and less money in journalism, and I put that in quotes. It's less money here. You're just getting people who are literally, like, for example, my local newspaper now, if you are silly enough to purchase it, it's just like running nothing but AP wire stories. It's the same newspaper that you get in any other part of the country. You might as well just be going on your phone and look up the news, which is what people do. I don't know what they're going to do when the boomers die off. I don't know what's going to happen in the newspaper industry. Maybe they'll just switch it full time to like bathroom training pets or something. I don't know. Like, that's what would happen. But now you don't have those people anymore. It's probably some person who didn't get the associate professor gig they wanted, and they're making $15 an hour, and it's like one guy in an entire news department. And so this is the shit that you get. They become very bad at doing the one job that they have, which is maintaining narrative control. But this is not our house dressing, but it's a menu item that's always on the board. It's that if you can see the strings, if you can see this stuff, they're effing up. It means they're getting weaker, because you just wouldn't have noticed this 20 or 30 years ago. They were better at it. They're bad at it now. So every time you look at the paper, this is part of polarization too, by the way. I know people like to blame the public for polarization, and it is partially our fault, but part of it too is that you've just gotten so bad at this that the cracks are showing. If you were doing your job, it would have been like the 50s or whatever. We wouldn't even know this. This wouldn't be a debate, but it is, and you're going to see more of this because there's nobody left who can do the job. All they can do is comment about it. That's all they have left.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with power now is like, think about like in the 1950s or whatever. If you like politics was flat out less important, not because of any glorious reasons, but just because other sectors had just as much power as the political sector. Like, didn't matter what people were Marxist or right wing or left wing, or what politicians thought. These corporations and shit, they had massive power too. And all the other reason why I wasn't mad, because some of the replies there were far better than my post. One of my favorite here. This is a genius reply. I'm gonna slightly modify here. This is Air Bud Dwyer on Twitter.
I love that name.
Following back. It says, okay, I'm gonna modify it slightly. Extra. And this is from November 23rd, 1963. Headline on the newspaper: You won't believe what happened to President Kennedy in Dallas over the weekend.
That's dark, bro.
Like, you know, like,
Yeah.
just one guy says, this reminds me of fighting my ex-wife. She would do a bad thing. I would call her on it and she'd make the ensuing fight about the way you responded. Yeah, we can't well, I guess we'll never, you know, the old headline news, whatever, Dewey defeats,
Truman. Yeah.
Dewey defeats Truman. Last thing. So like,
Well,
I think, go ahead.
Is this about this story?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Continue then.
Okay. So this is like a big issue with my book of how to approach this, because, when I start out, I kind of like a big thing about this is kind of laying out about why, we'll just say specifically in this case, but I think it's much broader. We'll say like why American cities are ruled a certain way, like how that dynamic, like where does that power come from or whatever. I don't really actually believe that this is like, that it's less ideological. Nonetheless, it's like the focus of the book or whatever. The problem there is that, okay, after I say that and I describe the system of patronage, and you're thinking about things like, oh, the Tammany Hall or whatever, I think I'd probably have a more successful book and people would be happier if, like, then I say, okay, well, here's how we root out corruption in the government. And this is how we fix this is, and we're going to do, here's what we do. Okay, this is the bad thing. So now, like, obviously, like, I don't even have to tell you what to do. Like, okay, so we just need to pass laws, blah, 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 and have essentially good government policies and fix that. Unfortunately, that's not where it goes next. I mean, it's a much more difficult problem because I think this is like written into the structure. Like, like I was saying, this thing of the problem of the guy with 20 felonies, I think this is a truly challenging problem for the system. And yeah, I don't think there's any quick happy answers that are coming soon. The only reprieve there could be would be some kind of revolution in the Democratic Party, which that means nothing to me. I mean, like, there's no point for us to even write any books or whatever. They would just be like, okay, just, I guess something over there in the in the San Francisco meeting or whatever. I'm not like, okay, that's just totally irrelevant to me. What would we do to fix this? It's a much more difficult problem, and I just like I have to find some way of telling people this without making them jump out of a window. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. I have something for Fredo. We don't have like a bumper for Ask Fredo, so I'm going to play the closest thing we have to that.
And this in a positive way, not a negative way. Demagoguery is going to be the ultimate solution to most of our problems.
All right, Fredo. My question is about was it Lisa Cook, the Fed board member who's accused of mortgage fraud? That's not important. She's refusing to resign. How big when this story popped off, you weren't here, but you are now. How big of a deal is this actually, and what's going to happen?
She's suing the president now.
Right.
Yeah, she's on the board of governors, so they're part of the Federal Open Markets Committee that sets interest rates. So the Federal Open Markets Committee is comprised of the board of governors plus the president of the New York Fed, and so it rotates through some other members from the local regional Federal Reserve banks, which those are people that the president appoints those presidents, but they're appointed from a group of guys that are elected by the member banks. So that's where you get into this whole odd system where like the monetary system is not necessarily controlled entirely by the government. The banks are directly involved in it. But anyway, how big of a deal is it? I don't think, to be honest, like that big of a deal. I mean, she lost a super prestigious job, so it's not surprising me that she's going to sue to try and either keep it or, to be reinstated or to, recover some type of damages. I think she's going to lose because at the end of the day, it appears she did sign like a fraudulent statement in connection with like obtaining a mortgage, and it's very common that people do that. But again, if you're on the board of governors for the Federal Reserve, it's pretty easy to hold people to a high standard there.
So when we talked to somebody about this, they said there are a lot of people who on her side who are like just step down because this. Today a federal judge blocked the president from removing her from the board. He said the judge said you don't have the power to do that, which means Trump is going to appeal this and it's going to end up before the Supreme Court. In which case you will have people arguing in the Supreme Court about what exactly the Fed is and who should be in charge of it, and that would be very bad for the Fed, right?
That would be very bad for the Fed. Yeah. And for the reasons you gave, like, I don't think that's going to happen because I don't know this, but there's like, she could be blackballed from, for lack of a better term, that industry or that world if she took it all the way there. You know, she might just be taking her flyer and seeing how far she can get or what she can get or whatever, or just might be mad. But I think there's going to be a lot of pressure for her to drop this and step down long before it gets to the Supreme Court. But some people have crazy, like, they get a hair up their butt and they do crazy stuff. So it certainly is possible.
You were the first person to ever explain to me that like I knew that the president appointed the chair of the Fed, whatever, but that really it's the banks who run the Fed, and the Fed controls the money supply. And I don't think the average person realizes that.
No, like intentionally so. Yeah, and there's the other subtext that's been going on now pretty much ever since Trump took office is Trump has an interpretation of the law that basically says that the Federal Reserve is basically subservient to the Treasury. That has not been the prevailing interpretation of the law basically ever since the Fed was created. But if that somehow became sort of the mainstream interpretation of the law and the law of the land, that would change the monetary system a lot, right? Because you would have direct political control over the monetary system if that were to happen. And he very clearly wants more political control over the monetary system. And he's taken a variety of angles to go get it. Publicly shaming sort of the chairman, just sort of floating these ideas out there about what the relationship between the Treasury and the Fed is. And then now stuff like this, where he's trying to like make it clear that he can just, because these are 14-year terms on the board of governors, that he has the power to sort of remove people.
The only argument against this, and I saw someone explicitly make it and it made me laugh out loud, was that this would be disastrous because if you let the politicians have control over the money supply, they might do reckless things with it, and the economy could become bad, and your money could lose its value. It's like, yeah, brother, that happened like 50 years ago. Get with the times.
Yeah, that's the thing. The real question is like how much worse could it be, and no one really has a good answer to that.
Yeah, and
because even in their current state, because they're afraid of political influence, they in a soft way, are obviously very subject to political influence in the first place now already. You could argue that it's more formalizing an arrangement that's already sort of implicit.
Yeah, Black Pill Cast said the worry is it could happen at Argentina level, whatever, you could have hyperinflation, which, yeah, that could happen, but
the issue with that though is like the thing is like that is a the experience of Argentina is the experience of a country which is not small enough to have not even a reserve. Forget about a reserve currency, which the dollar still is, but not even a major trading currency. If you're large enough that you have like even a major trading currency, I think it's unlikely things would be that extreme.
Yeah, there's a problem. Like, political control scares people because they don't trust politicians. But what we've gotten is a form of political control. It's just controlled by people that we don't get the vote on. We have no say over. that's in monarchy. That's not necessarily a problem, but it is in democracy because the whole concept of democracy is that we pay higher taxes than serfs serfs would have paid. Like the government is in our lives every day. They manage us in ways that serfs is going a bit far, but like in most times in human history, if you were a free person, the government interfered in your life less than ours does. The trade-off for that is that that we, in theory, at least get to have a say in who's going to be representing us. That we get to pick the person who's going to crack the whip. Well, with the Fed, you don't at all. The banks are running their own thing, and they've been using us as pay pigs, if you're going to be conservative, for the last 50 years. And I talked about this recently. I looked it up. Inflation rate since my mother was born in the 60s it's like 1,000% since she was born to today. Like I don't think that's a great job. But anyway, that's personal opinion. Things can always get worse. They can also get better. I know asking questions about the Fed's always complicated because it's hard to understand, but
intentionally so, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, that's all I got.
All right, so hopefully next week we'll be on Kick. We'll probably simulcast on Twitch. Hopefully one day we'll just be on Kick. Like I said, so you don't have to have an account on Kick, and there's no ads. So be looking forward to that.
Yeah, I don't like the idea that people have to watch ads to listen to us, because it's not like we're not making money off of that or anything. That's just Jeff Bezos is getting that. And why should our viewers have to watch that shit? I had no idea there was an alternative platform where they don't have to do that. So
yeah. There's like right-wing alternative programs, but you get bombarded with like these AI slop ads and stuff, and Kick is owned by a casino, so they don't need any money.
Yeah, correct. Do you see Amazon? Yeah, we do. We do get we get some of the sub money, and you get like a tiny bit of the ad revenue. But like we're not a big stream or whatever. It's not, the amount of money is not important enough that I would make people to watch on Twitch. This is just we're kind of boomerish about Web 2.0 technology. Twitch was to me the streaming platform, but I guess now there are like 50 different iterations, and this is the gamer one, right?
Yeah,
Twitch is the gamer one.
Kick is the main thing. I mean, they got Mr. Beast and every famous streamer you know of, whatever, Destiny and
okay.
Fuentes or any of these people, they're all on Kick now. I mean, except for Hassan, like basically owns Twitch. I mean, Hassan is Twitch.
Yeah, once you kind of like you're talking about PewDiePie earlier, for a stretch of many years, he was the number one, had the most subscribers, and he was the, if you were talking about TV, like the Milton Berle of YouTube for a long time, and that's a different thing than trying to crack your way into it in 2019 like we did. Like we have a YouTube channel, we stream to it sometimes, but we're not racking up tons of views. If you're a late arriver, it's always a lot harder, which is one reason why you shouldn't feel bad to make fun of people who were in at the ground floor and managed to fumble the bag, as the kids say.
Hassan's got this friend streamer that doesn't get views. Like they get like 100 people watching max or whatever, and Twitch has given them up and coming streamer of the year for like the past 4 years straight. And no one still watches them, but like this is his.
That's patronage. That's the first thing I've ever heard about Hassan that I like, that I actually admire. Yeah, good. Spread it around your clients.
Yeah, but that's like Twitch like bowing before him. And
yeah.
Refer back to the Taylor Lorenz story from earlier. So yes. I don't think Twitch likes right-wing people very much.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Poggers.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks everybody for coming out.
Good night, y'all.